Ports are the solution for the challenges of talking to JavaScript code. The key point about ports is that they are about exchanging data of various types, such as string or integer. However, functions cannot be exchanged. Using ports means that the boundaries of both Elm and JavaScript code are respected. Ports provide the mechanism so that Elm and JavaScript can exchange data. Here is the big idea of how to send the data to JavaScript code using ports. Let's say our web app has the usual model, view, update, and Elm runtime components. Recently, we added some JavaScript code to the web app, and we need our Elm code to send some data to the JavaScript code. To trigger sending data to JavaScript, let's say the web app has a button which a user presses, the event goes to the Elm runtime, and the message goes to the update function, which returns a new model and a command. Just like talking to an external API, commands play a critical role in sending messages to the outside world. The message uses a predefined port, which is the dedicated solution for talking to JavaScript code. With the help of the Elm runtime, the data goes from the update function via the port to the JavaScript code, which can use it for further processing. Here are the 3 steps to add a new port to Elm code. First, add the port keyword to the module definition, which signals this module is going to talk to JavaScript code. Second, define a new port by using the port keyword. This new port is named from Elm to JS to make the data flow direction very clear. The port definition looks like a function. It expects a string value as input and returns a generic command. Third, here is how to send that string via the port to JavaScript. Somewhere in the update function, a branch returns a tuple with a model and a call to the port with a string argument. The Elm runtime takes care of handling this message so that it can be consumed by the JavaScript code. Here is how to consume the data from Elm in JavaScript. Let's say we have the same basic HTML page with a div container and the same JavaScript code as previously, including JavaScript code to initialize the Elm web app to run in the Elm cart div container. To consume data arriving via Elm ports, our JavaScript code needs to subscribe to the new port. Notice that the port name must be the same in both Elm and JavaScript code. By subscribing to the new port, the process Elm data function is going to be called each time a new string is sent by the Elm code. This function just displays a string in the console with the Elm data and the actual received data. The point is that the data from Elm really arrives at our JavaScript code and can be used as input to other JavaScript functions. Let's have a quick demo. We are going to send the order status from our Elm code to JavaScript code. To achieve this, we'll declare the current module as a port module, then add a new port and a new command to send the order status with a new port after receiving a valid response from the API server. We also need to add some code to process the order status in JavaScript. We need to subscribe to the new port and add a new function to process incoming data. On the demo machine, go to the top of the hello.elm file and add the port keyword to signal that this module is going to talk to JavaScript code. Let's do a bit of cleanup and remove the amount function, which is no longer needed, so it's safe to delete it. Let's define the new port to send string values from Elm to JavaScript. Port from Elm to JS. The new port expects a string and returns a command with lowercase message, which means it's a placeholder, not one of our defined messages. To use the new port, we must send a command from the update function. Most of these branches send empty commands with command.none. We can replace such an empty command with a command to send a string to JavaScript using the new port. The server response branch with OK response tags decodes the response from the API server and returns a new model and an empty command. Let's replace it with a command to send the status string to JavaScript code from Elm to JS and the new status string. Save the file. The Elm code is now ready to send the order status to JavaScript code. In the cart.html file, we need to subscribe to the new port and listen to incoming data. Call app, ports, the name of the port, watch out to be identical from Elm to JS, and subscribe with the process Elm data. Now let's define the process Elm data function with the incoming data parameter. Inside the function, just call console log with the Elm order status string and the data itself. Remember to save the file. Switch to the terminal and run again Elm make so that cart.js is up to date. Switch to the browser, refresh the page, and right-click to inspect the page. Switch to the console and press the Place Order button. Notice that it cannot call the API when opened as a local file. This API server runs locally using Elm Reactor, which allows requests only from localhost for security reasons. I'm going to switch to another tab which has the localhost URL. Refresh the page, inspect, switch to the console, and place the order. The console also gets the status message for a successful order. Excellent!